You deserve nothing from us." That was the sentence my daughter chose to throw across the table, sharp enough to slice straight through the air between us. Rowena did not raise her voice. She did not shake. She simply leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and let the corners of her mouth twitch with that small, satisfied smirk she had perfected over the years. She looked at me the way a judge might look at a case already decided long before the trial began. I felt the familiar instinct to go still. I have spent 72 years teaching myself how to weather other people's storms by refusing to move inside them. My name is Alara Winslow, and silence has always been the place where I survive. Across the table, my husband Harlon drew a breath quiet, measured, the kind he only takes when something inside him has settled into certainty. He had not spoken since we sat down. He had watched. He had listened. He always listens, even when I pretend everything is fine. Rowena tapped her fingers against her glass as if waiting for applause. "At least now," she added, "everything will be handled the right way. Lyle and I have talked about it." Harlon pushed his chair back. The sound was not loud, but it cut through Rowena's self-satisfied rhythm. She blinked once, startled. As Harlon rose to his full height, he rested one hand lightly on the back of my chair, steadying me without touching my shoulders, and spoke with a calm so controlled it chilled the room. "Perfect," he said, "because everything, every single thing is now hers." The smirk slid off Rowena's face so quickly it looked like it had been wiped away by an unseen hand. Her skin went pale around the edges, and Lyle stiffened beside her. For a breath, no one moved. Even I could not seem to lift my hands from my lap. Harlon did not sit back down. He kept his eyes on our daughter with a steadiness I had never seen him use on her before. That was the moment everything shifted, whether anyone realized it or not. And this is how we arrived at the night my husband decided he would no longer stand by while I disappeared in my own family. The moment Rowena's face drained of color at the dinner table stayed with me long after the silence settled. It pulled me back through the years, to the beginning of the cracks she never forgave me for. When Rowena was 8, it was just the two of us in a narrow duplex near Wright Park. My first husband had walked out with nothing more than a slammed door and a promise never to return. I worked mornings at the library and evenings at a diner on 6th Avenue, leaving Rowena with neighbors who tried their best. She never let me forget those nights. "You were gone again," she would say when I came home past 10, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "You missed everything. I had to work, sweetheart." I always whispered, kneeling down, still smelling of fried onions and coffee. "It is just until we get steady. It is always until," she muttered. For years, I clung to the idea that providing was the same as loving, but in Rowena's eyes, every double shift became proof that she deserved repayment later. When I remarried, she was 13. Harlon tried to earn her trust gently, offering rides to school, asking about her homework, fixing the loose dresser drawer she had been complaining about for months. She stared past him each time. One night, I heard her telling her friend on the phone, "Mom chose him. She chose him over everything." I walked into her room and said softly, "No one is being chosen over you." She crossed her arms. That is exactly what someone who chose him would say. There was no winning with her. Every step toward stability became another mark on her internal scorecard. If Harlon bought groceries, she said he was buying his way into the family. If he fixed a leak under the sink, she claimed he was showing off. If I was tired and let him take care of something, she called it weakness. By the time she reached adulthood, Rowena had built an entire story in her mind. In that story, everything she lacked as a child was something I owed her in return. She believed sacrifice earned debt, and my debt to her was endless. And I made the worst mistake a mother can make. I believed giving in was the same as keeping peace. Rowena's visits changed long before the dinner that shattered everything. She stopped coming over to talk. She came to take, "Where did you put the file with the insurance papers?" she asked one afternoon, already opening the drawer in the hallway. She did not wait for my answer. "You really should let me manage these things. You always misplace them." "They are in the back," I said quietly. She pulled the folder out, tucked it under her arm, and added, "I will bring it back when I am done." She never did. A week later, she came again. "Do you still have Grandma May's ring? The one with the tiny sapphire. I want to keep it safe." "It is safe here." "I told her." Rowena sighed sharply. "You keep things too close." "Mom, it is exhausting." Lyle stood behind her, hands in his pockets, eyes low. He always looked like a man caught in the wrong room at the wrong time. "Maybe we should let your mom decide," he began. Rowena cut him off. "I am doing what is best. Someone has to." She left with the ring, the insurance papers, and a checkbook she claimed I had forgotten I owned. I let her go because standing in her path always caused a storm. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived with my name printed neatly on the front. Inside was a notice about a personal loan, one I had never applied for. The amount was small, but the words were unmistakable: overdue. Missed payment. Contact immediately. I sat at the table staring at it until Harlon walked in. "What is that?" he asked. "A mistake," I whispered. "It has to be." He took the paper gently from my hands and read it twice. His jaw tightened. "Elara, this is not a mistake." He did not say anything else that night, but I saw him pull a notebook from the drawer and write something down before placing the loan notice beside it. I folded my hands together, steadying myself, wondering how long Rowena had been using my name without ever asking. Rowena's ambition started slipping through the cracks long before she thought I noticed. I heard the first piece of it on a Tuesday afternoon when I stepped out onto the porch and found her at the bottom of the steps, speaking into her phone. "Yes, the houses near Commencement Bay are worth much more now," she said. "Mom's place could sell quickly. Older homes go fast when the market is hungry." I froze, listening. No, she will not fight it. Rowena continued. "She is slowing down. It is time for younger hands to take over." When she finally saw me, she pressed the phone to her chest. I was just gathering information. She said, "You never think ahead." "Mom, I have to. I did not ask you to research anything." I replied, "You never ask," she said. "That is the problem." The next hint came from Marcy Tran, our nurse neighbor. She stopped me outside the mailbox. "Rowena mentioned something about you moving to assisted living soon," she said gently. I did not want to pry. I felt my breath catch. "She told you that Marcy hesitated." She made it sound like a plan already in motion. That evening, Rowena arrived unannounced, waving a stack of pamphlets. "We should be practical," she said. "You cannot keep living here by yourself. Harlon cannot do everything." "Harlon is not complaining," I said. "Well, I am," she snapped. "You need decisions made for you. This house is too much. Selling it would be the smartest move." "It is my home," I said quietly. Rowena rolled her eyes. "It is an asset, and assets need management." Lyle stood behind her, shifting his weight. "Maybe we should slow down," he murmured. Rowena ignored him. "The realtor said the location alone could bring in more than we ever imagined. Do you see everything falls into place if you stop holding on so tightly?" She handed me the pamphlets as if the decision had already been made. I held them in my lap long after she left, realizing she had been building her future on top of my life without ever asking if I still wanted to live in it. Rowena insisted on the family dinner. She called 2 days earlier, her voice clipped. "We all need to sit down together. There are decisions that cannot wait." Harlon and I arrived to find her already pacing around the table, a neat stack of papers in front of each plate. Lyle stood near the kitchen doorway, rubbing the back of his neck. "Go ahead and sit," Rowena said. "We have a lot to cover." I looked at the papers. Forms, pages of signatures, lists of facilities. "What is all this?" I asked. "Your future," she replied, sliding into her seat. "It is time to get your affairs in order." Harlon frowned. "Rowena, no one discussed this with us." "That is exactly why it needs to be discussed." She snapped. "Mom, you are slowing down. You forget things. You need structure. And Lyle and I can manage everything from here." I kept my hands folded in my lap. "I am not moving anywhere. You will if you want the rest of us to function without chaos," she said. "These forms are straightforward. Assisted living would take the pressure off everyone." Harlon leaned slightly toward me. "Ilara does not need to be pressured into anything." Rowena's attention sharpened on him. "You have influenced her enough." "I see what you are doing." "And what am I doing?" he asked. "Manipulating her," she said coldly. "For money, for control. You walked into her life and decided you know what is best for her. You do not." Harlon's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Rowena shoved a pen toward me. "Sign the evaluation forms. If you do not, Lyle and I will have to take other steps." "I am not signing," I said softly. She scoffed. "You always resist until someone else cleans up the mess. You should be grateful we are even willing to take this on." "I did not ask you to take anything on," I replied. She leaned forward, voice sharp enough to sting. "Then hear me clearly. You deserve nothing from us. Not help, not patience, not sympathy, nothing." The words struck harder than she realized, but I did not move. I felt Harlon's eyes on me, steady and warm. The only anchor I had left in that room as everything inside me shifted toward the moment that would come next. The words "you deserve nothing from us" were still hanging in the air when Harlon finally pushed his chair back. The motion was steady, not rushed. As if he had been waiting for the exact second, Rowena stepped over a line she could not return from. He rested both hands on the table. "Enough," he said. Rowena snapped her head toward him. "Do not start. This is between me and my mother." "No," Harlon replied. "It stopped being between the two of you the moment you decided her life was yours to manage." She scoffed. "Spare me. You have been twisting her thinking for years." Harlon's eyes hardened, but his voice stayed calm. "I have been documenting your behavior for years." Lyle shifted uneasily. "What does that mean?" Harlon opened the folder he had brought with him and pulled out a thin recorder. "I have every conversation where you pressured her to sign documents she did not understand." He met Rowena's stare. "Including the time you tried to forge her signature on that refinance request." Rowena's face drained. "That was a misunderstanding. I watched you trace her handwriting," Harlon said. "There was nothing misunderstood about it." She reached for the recorder, but he moved it out of her grasp. "You cannot use that. You have no right." "I have every right," he replied. "You attempted fraud." Lyle took a small step back, as if distance might save him from being pulled into the truth unraveling in front of him. Harlon straightened. "You say she deserves nothing from you. Perfect." He placed another set of papers on the table documents with neat tabs on the edges. "Because everything is now hers." Rowena's breath stuttered. "Everything what? The house, the accounts, the full trust I moved into her name 6 months ago." His voice sharpened. "You proved you only wanted what she owns, not who she is." I felt the shock tighten my chest. Harlon had never told me any of this, not the recordings, not the trust, not the quiet protection he had been building behind my back. Rowena stared at him, speechless. But the damage was already unfolding in her eyes. Rowena lunged for the folder, but Harlon slid it out of reach with a slow, deliberate movement that made her freeze. "You are overstepping," she hissed. "No," he said. "I am finally drawing a line." I do not accept any of this, she snapped. Harlon opened the folder anyway and placed several notarized pages flat on the table. You do not have to accept it. These were finalized 6 months ago. She scanned the headings, her lips tightening. A trust. You moved everything into a trust without telling me. It was not your business, he replied. It was hers. Rowena's voice cracked. This is manipulation. You tricked her. Harlon tapped the signature line. She signed every document after reviewing them with an attorney. You were not invited because you cannot be trusted. Rowena shoved her chair back, scraping the floor. You made her think I was dangerous. He looked straight at her. You proved it yourself. He dropped a stack of printed statements onto the table. This is the loan you took in her name. The one she supposedly agreed to over the phone. That was temporary. Rowena shot back. I told Lyle it was temporary. Lyle swallowed hard. You said she approved it. You said she would not notice because the amount was small. I stared at him. You knew I thought she agreed. He whispered. Rowena said she forgot. Harlon pulled out one last sheet screenshots printed in black and white. He set them in front of Rowena. She refused to touch them. These are your messages, he said. The ones where you told your friend, she is old. She will not understand the paperwork if I move it fast. Rowena's eyes widened, then darted toward me. Those were jokes. People exaggerate. No, Harlon said. People reveal themselves. She slammed her fist on the table. You cannot judge me by a few mistakes. I was trying to help her. You were trying to take her life apart piece by piece, he said quietly. The room tightened. Every lie she had built collapsing under the weight of ink and signatures, and her own words printed plainly in front of her. The excuses had always been loud. But for the first time, the truth was louder. Rowena's anger snapped first. You set me up, she shouted, jabbing a finger at Harlon. You twisted everything to make me look like a criminal. I showed the truth. He answered. She turned on me. And you let him. You let him paint me as the villain. I did not paint anything. I said softly. I lived through it. Her breath came fast. Sharp. You owe me more than this. After everything I went without as a kid, after everything I put up with, you owed me a chance to fix things. There are no chances left to fix what you chose, Harlon said. Her phone buzzed on the table. She snatched it, glanced at the screen, and went still. What is it? Lyle asked. She swallowed. My manager, I have been suspended. Someone sent them the loan notice. They said my conduct needs to be reviewed. That was not us, Harlon said. The bank reports automatically once fraud is flagged. Rowena's eyes flashed. So now I am losing my job. Over a tiny mistake. That tiny mistake was using your mother's name to take money you had no right to. He said. She threw the phone down. You always defend him. She spat at me. He is not even your real family. He is the one who stayed, I replied. He is the one who protects me. Rowena's face crumpled, fury collapsing into panic. Mom, please, talk to the bank. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you gave me permission. I will not lie for you. I said, you have lied for me before I shook my head. No more. I will not carry what you broke. For a heartbeat, she looked small like the little girl who once begged me not to leave for the night shift. But it passed. Her expression hardened. If you two want to do this, she said, grabbing her coat. Do not expect me to come back when you regret it. Lyle opened his mouth to speak, but she was already storming out the door, her life unraveling behind her like thread pulled too tight. And once she was gone, the house settled into a heavy, aching quiet neither of us had ever felt before. Rowena's footsteps had barely faded down the sidewalk before the phone started ringing. I let it go to voicemail. When it rang again, I let it ring until the sound blended into the walls. By the fourth call, Harlon sat beside me at the kitchen table. "You do not have to answer," he said. "I know," I whispered. "I just hear her voice before she even speaks." The phone buzzed again. I pressed the button to silence it and turned the screen face down. The first voicemail came through minutes later. Her voice was tight. "Mom, call me back. Well, I need to explain." Another message followed. "This is not fair. You are letting him twist things. Just talk to me." Then one more. "Please. I cannot fix this without you. I need you to tell them it was an accident." I deleted all three without listening to the ends. Harlon watched carefully. "You are not doing anything wrong," he said. "It feels like I am abandoning her." I murmured, "You are protecting yourself." He replied, "That is new for you." I looked at him, feeling something uncoil inside my chest, something I had kept wound tight for decades. I spent so many years trying to be the mother she wanted. I do not think she ever saw the mother I was. He reached for my hand. "You gave her everything you could. She chose the rest." The phone buzzed again. I pressed delete without hesitation this time. For the first time in my life, silence did not feel like defeat. It felt like a door I had finally closed from my side, a boundary instead of a punishment. I leaned back in my chair and breathed in slowly. The air felt steadier than it had in a long time. Harlon squeezed my hand, grounding me in a way words never could. The quiet around us did not hurt anymore. It settled gently, like something I was learning to live inside without fear. And for the first time, I began to understand what peace could feel like after all the years I had spent trying not to break. 2 days after the dinner, Harlon and I sat together at the small table in the back office of the credit union. The loan officer reviewed every page I brought, her expression tightening as she pieced together what Rowena had done. "You were not the one who opened this account," she said, "and the signature is not yours." "No," I replied. "We will escalate this," she said. "There will be a formal investigation." Harlon squeezed my hand once. He did not need to speak. By the end of the week, Rowena called again, one message, then another. "Mom, they suspended me. They say they need to review my conduct. Please call me. Please help me fix this." I deleted every message, not out of anger, out of clarity. A month later, the trust challenge she filed was dismissed before it even reached a full hearing. The judge took one look at the paperwork and said, "You entered this courtroom with nothing but entitlement." Rowena walked out without meeting my eyes. Her reputation fell apart next. Friends stepped back. Her supervisor cut ties. Even Lyle stayed mostly silent around her. I did not chase her. I did not justify myself. I simply moved forward. One quiet morning, I opened the cedar chest at the foot of my bed. Inside were all the things Rowena used to call hers, the childhood ballet shoes, the sweater her grandmother knitted, the music box she insisted she would reclaim someday. I sold every item. None of them carried the memories she believed they did. With the money, I made a donation to a women's legal advocacy group. I signed it under her name. A week later, Rowena received the acknowledgement letter. "Thank you for your generous support of women seeking justice." Harlon chuckled softly when he saw it. "A fitting end." He said, "It is not an end," I replied. "It is a beginning." I walked through the house feeling lighter than I had in years, quiet, steady, certain. If you felt this story in your chest, like and subscribe to hear the next one. Someone else out there might need it too. My daughter once told me I deserved nothing, but I deserved peace. And peace, once I finally chose it, became the one thing she could never take.